So this is the first side that I did. Just wanted to show y'all kind of how I'm measuring these things out. I'm basically doing basically on the bottom section, the bottom gap and the top gap, and kind of all the gaps really. We're doing 1.25 inches. So basically what I did was measured 1.25 inches from this flat surface to here, and that's where that line is. Obviously that's the start of the bottom louver, and then something over here, 1.25 inches from here down to here, and then obviously that's where this bottom louver starts as well. And then from there, I pretty much just figured out center, and then again tried to maintain that 1.25 inch gap from each louver. I say each louver. And then with these, I have 1.5 inch spacing, so basically it goes 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch, 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch, and then so forth, so on and so forth. The 1.5 inch is kind of my parameters for my angle. That's what I use to get my angle right on my louvers. So basically, again, you put the one louver at the bottom right at the 1.25 inch, and then you pitch it and tilt it up until it gets in the refinement of that 1.5 inch mark right here, and then your angle is pretty much good. And then from there, from this line or from this mark, you go another 1.25 inch and start it again, and it keeps going. That's kind of where we're at right now. Anyways, I'm getting ready to do the driver's side. I'm still debating on doing some kind of crossbar. I like the way it looks, truthfully. And it's probably pretty strong without it, because this is diamond plate. I'm not sure diamond plate's any stronger than regular metal, but it's pretty strong. I mean, you try to bend it, it's not really bending. So I think it'd probably be okay, but part of me thinks if I could just do some kind of secondary brace, maybe not in the middle, but just on the interior edges, just to kind of help box it in a little bit. So I don't know. We might do that. We might not. I'm not sure just yet. It's probably make it hard to paint like that. But I don't know. We'll figure out something maybe to box all this in. But I don't know. So anyways, just wanted to show you all that dough. And said I'll have it drawn out on this side too, and I'll try to explain to you one more time on that. It might be a little bit easier to understand without the levers in there, but yeah, but it's really simple. And yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna get this done real quick, and then I'll bring it back and show you all the lines and the measurements. So this is the driver's side. Just as the inner angle or inner end of the shutter, or the headache rack, louvers, whatever you want to call them. Anyways, this is my kind of the first step I do. I was actually wrong. This is 1.25 inches. This is like 1 inch and like 9/16, or a little bit, just a tad over 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches. So barely a little bit over 1.5 inches. Actually, if I can show y'all, it's just right there. So whatever that number is. But anyways, and then so what I did was I get my bottom measurement, my top measurement done, and then I do my first 1.5 inch interval on each of those ends, which leaves us, and again, there you go. That's our first 1.5 inches. So that's this will be our first louver. And then same thing on this side. Let's see. Same thing on this side, 1.5 inches. And then I just start stair-stepping it in. So working, from inside or from outside in. And then, so again, once I do this first 1.5 inch interval on both ends, I do another 1.25 inch interval, right there, and then do another 1.5 inch interval for the shutter, for the louver, and then, of course, another 1.25 inch spacing interval, and then finally, we have our center shutter, or center louver, which sometimes which other side, like on the passenger side, it wasn't exactly 1.5 inches. It was like a little bit under 1.5 inches, but you can see right there, this one is actually perfect 1.5 inches. So that was kind of cool. It worked out really good. Anyways, so now it's the fun part of translating this measurement to that angled end, which isn't as big of a deal as I make it out to be, but basically what we're going to have to do is just use the square and kind of go off the angles, and that way we can keep it squared up and straight, and we'll just have to kind of move with the angles and move the measurements if that makes sense. That way we can get the correct length off of the bottom and top. So anyways, and we'll just mark little lines, not really as critical. I use the center side as more of my true measurement, my true kind of guide. I just use little lines here so I get kind of close to it on this outer end, because it's really not as critical on the outer end. It's just more critical on this interior side, because obviously if we look at this side, you know, all these shutters pretty much ride on this inner wall over here on this inside angle, whereas the other side is kind of gapped a little bit, spaced a little bit different, just to kind of flow, and everybody had more room to align. So that's more of our alignment area, if that makes sense at all. But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna mark this real quick. I'll bring y'all back in real quick, just briefly, to show you all those marks, and then from there we will start tacking, and then from there we'll, I don't know, after we get done tacking it on, we might look at doing some cross bracing, or just weld it up and call it good. I'm not sure just yet, but yeah, and then we can work on our inner lock. But yeah, I'll bring it back once I get that done. So I just got them marked. Again, just, you know, same thing on the other side. Just start from the top and bottom, work my way in. So yeah, now I'm gonna start doing the tack welding and get them welded in. So done welding, not welding, tacking the lures into the headache rack frames, or whatever you want to call them. I decided to kind of stack them up against the other ones and try to use that as a kind of an alignment. I think it worked okay. They seem to be relatively in line with each other, I think. They seem to be relatively okay too, as far as spacing. I don't think it looks too bad. But yeah, anyways, so now, I guess, now we gotta make a decision on the backside and how to reinforce this thing, if we need to, if we're going to. And then from there, I guess we can load it up and then start working on our center lockouts. But yeah, I just wanted to show you all this though. I thought it was pretty cool. It definitely looks really cool, especially like when it's not painted and like it's kind of like the frame's kind of rusted out, and this is kind of really like fresh, polished diamond plate. Like if I was going for this kind of look and you clear coated this, it would be awesome. But like, obviously we're not going for that look, but it does look really good though. And the diamond plate really does, you know, it does look good. It does kind of have a good breakup to it. You know, it breaks the texture up. Only thing bad about it is like you can see like on this middle piece, you can see at the bottom piece, you can see where the, let me see if I can say this, like my cutoff wheel, like I was kind of just like going all over the place, like you can see right here, like it's like just, it's not really flat. But then again, I kind of like it though too, because it's like, if it wasn't obvious, this was made by hand. Like it's now it's really obvious, like, oh yeah, duh, like this wasn't CNC cut, this wasn't like someone actually cut it, that's why it's a little bit wobbly, and like this one piece looks like it's a little bit higher. But I don't know, I might take a grinder to that, try to clean it up maybe, but I kind of like it though. I kind of like the rough look. Yeah, it doesn't only look good and clean and like symmetrical, but it also kind of looks almost like it's, I don't know. Anyways, let me figure out what I want to do on this back side real quick. And then we'll go from there. So I'll see y'all in a bit. So decided to take a little bit of a break, on a creativity break, if you will, on the headache rack. These aren't welded yet, these are tacked, so I gotta weld these up. I think we're not gonna do cross supports in the center. I'm pretty sure we're not going to, at least right now. We might do something on the interior sides, but not in the middle, at least. But right now, I'm kind of at a pause with this intersection. I mean, I could I can argue the point being open. I can argue the point of having just this real simple, just continue this pattern across with just some, real simple, just, a little H frame, essentially, if you will. I could see that argument. I don't know. It's interesting. I kind of wanted to do. I don't know. I kind of feel like I made a little bit like a logo or something. But then again, I don't want it to be like obvious stuff. If that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like either way. I feel like I might just make make one of these inserts anyways. If I run it, if I don't run it, either way, just have it. I think it would look good, truthfully. But I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel like I want like a design of some sort. I don't know. Not really like a header design or no design, nothing like that. I think just something. I don't know. Probably things like if I could do it. I don't know how you do it, but like like the dorm room of Wednesday and Eden's. That half stained, half not stained. Glass in the dorm room. I keep seeing that in this. I don't know why. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna do it. Might just have to settle for a sticker on the glass. That might be the best way to do it. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing though. I don't know. But anyways, I'm gonna take a pause on that. So I probably will end up making just that bracket just to run, or just to have, whether I run it or don't. It'll just be there. But yeah, just definitely kind of still back in my mind to kind of think that might be a cool one for future. But anyways, so I'm gonna take a break on that just for creativity purposes, just to see if I can come up with another idea. But I'm going back to work on the shell now. I can see I'm just trying to put the wings back on. These wings are really easy to mount. Essentially, it's just 2 bolts, one there, one there. Technically, there should be one there, but you can kind of see the problem there. The hole's there, but there's kind of some welds in the metal in the way. A little bit of an oversight by me, but I don't think it's really that important. But if we have to, we can cut it out and put a bolt in it if we have to. But I'm not too terribly worried about it. Anyways, and then so basically put 2 bolts on the bed rail, and then 2 bolts here and here that attach it to the headache rack with that K bracket. But yeah, so I'm gonna get the other side real quick, get that mounted, and then we'll do the shell. And oh yeah, I don't know if you ever saw how, I never showed y'all how this headache rack mounts. It's real simple. It's literally 1 bolt. It's 1 bolt there, 1 bolt on there, but it just goes right down there. Probably not the most stable thing. Realistically, I probably need to make another bracket. Make more brackets, or no, right? I probably need to make a bracket for just when it's running by itself. That kind of does the same thing like here, but maybe goes from these 2 bolts all the way up, and it maybe comes up to the secondary hole right here, just as a support. But that can be done, on a later date. That's just if we decide we don't want to run this wing anymore, we don't want to run the cap anymore, or if we want to run just the headache rack, then we'll just put that on, make it big. It'd be easy to bolt up. It'd be simple. It's really simple to do. So another thing to do, add to the list of accessories to do for this thing, essentially. But anyways, but it's just 1 bolt. Kind of see it. There you go. You can barely see it. And then of course this crossbar just by itself to the rail. But yeah, pretty tight seal, if I do say so myself. And I think we're gonna do, see, it pretty much covers all the way. And we're gonna take some rubber gasketing or rubber material on the inside, on the bottom of this lip of the C channel. Let's see if I can show y'all this. There we go. Okay, so this is the angle iron right here. Then this is the fold of the C channel. I'm thinking about putting some like rubber grommet gasket material on this inner of the C channel and having it fold out and pretty much overlap this angle and go straight to the bed, or over on the outside of the bed. That way any water that falls on this backside just goes out of the bed and between the cab and the bed and not in the bed. Shouldn't be that big of a problem, especially considering this will be covered essentially. It'll be pretty much covered. I mean, it's not gonna be much, I don't think, water actually getting down here. at least by like natural like rain and stuff like that, and gravity kind of like anything like gravity affected, it's not going to go down there, I don't think. But for whatever reason, if it does, it won't get inside the dry storage. It'll just go outside. At least that's the ideal. But anyways, I'm gonna grab the other wing real quick, get it mounted, and then we'll go on the shell, and then we'll start working on something. I don't know what I'm gonna work on yet, but we're just gonna try to do something real quick. So I'll do that real quick. So I'm inside now right now, just trying to get a kind of a good idea of what it's gonna look like with the louvers and the wing on there. Trying to figure out how bad the blind spots are gonna be. It's not bad. I mean, it's not perfect, obviously. I mean, we knew what it was gonna look like with the wings, and we knew how what visibility was gonna be like with the wings. But with these louvers, it kind of just, I guess, makes it more exaggerated. I guess, but you can still see through. I mean, like my head height, it's basically with this camera. So I mean, I can still see to the lower two louvers and that lower section of the wing, and I can still see, through and all. So I mean, I don't think I'll have a problem driving with it. I think it'll be okay for me. Obviously, if someone else gets in here, someone shorter, someone taller, it's a different story. But I think that's like that with pretty much any vehicle. But at some point, though, we might consider just if you have the shell on, if you have the wings on, pull your louvers just for extra visibility. If it becomes a problem, but right now I don't think it's gonna be an issue. But again, we won't know until we actually get on the road and do some R&D. But right now I think it's fine, or no reason for concern, especially when they're removable anyways. So it's something that's kind of like either way it's gonna be good. So but anyways, but as I was looking at that now, I kind of just took a moment just kind of look and kind of forgot about why I started this project in the first place. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, that little overhang on that winglet, you can kind of see, let me see if I can just find a point to it, on the very bottom of that winglet, how it overhangs. Let me roll the window down, that might make it a little bit easier to see. But okay, there we go. Alright, so the little overhang on that winglet, how it overhangs the bed rail and how it kind of angles in, you can kind of see the bolts on that mid section of the winglet, and it kind of sticks out, kind of angled out. That is why I fell in love with this ideal. That's literally why it made me think, holy shit, this is cool. It's basically just for that. So when I'm driving and I look in my mirror and I can see that this little bit of that wing, poking out from the outside of the cab, that's why I liked it. It just, I don't know, it just looks so fucking cool. It just adds another layer of dimension to it that I don't know, I really like for some reason. Of course, but if you're on the passenger side, you can't see it, obviously. Or, if it's kind of, passenger side, if you're sitting in the passenger seat looking at the driver's side, you can't see it overhanging. It just looks like it's flush, just like with this one. Sitting in the driver's seat looking at the passenger side winglet, you can pretty much tell it's flush. I mean, you might be able to see just a little bit poking out, but and realistically, for all practical purposes, it doesn't stick out, or at least from the driver's view, the driver can't see it sticking out, if that makes sense. And of course, if you're in the passenger seat sitting down, it does the same. It has the exact same effect. It has the exact same kick out, which is really cool. But yeah, just something, I guess, so minute, but I really, really like it. It just looks really cool. But you see your angle, you can kind of, I mean, it definitely flows, but it's really cool, really, really cool. But anyways, let's see what we got. Basically, again, it doesn't look bad. It looks really good. I'm not gonna lie. It's coming along pretty much how I kind of expected it to, but just actually seeing it now is just wow. Like it don't look bad. It's not bad. It's definitely different, but not bad. Anyways, let me put the shell on here real quick, and then we'll go from there. So, this is kind of our, kind of a real push, I guess, to get this thing done. Anyways, I'm working on this piece, to kind of connect the winglet to the headache rack to the chase rack. or the turtle shell, whatever you want to call it. Kind of a very interesting kind of interesting thoughts, interesting ideals I've had on this one piece. It's very pivotable for me, it seems. But yeah, trying to kind of figure out a way to do this. Originally, I kind of envisioned all of this being a part of the main shell. It still might be. Nothing's in stone yet. But I'm starting to think, make this piece a standalone piece that connects. That's a standalone piece that connects the winglet to the headache rack, and that acts as a flange, a mounting flange for the shell. So what I mean by that is essentially make this piece standalone, where this is a structural connection from the winglet to the headache rack, and then it has a flat, mounting flange on this piece right here that the shell will sit on top of and rest upon. That will allow us to do several things. First and foremost, it will connect. It will make the shell. It will finish the shell up. It connects this, which is what needed to be done. For over here, and this still keeps squeaking, by the way, too. For over here, of course, this would be the one piece as well. This would give, this is part of our filler between our headache rack and our cab. Be part of the filler. This would complement the standalone filler piece that's gonna be just solely on the headache rack. And then we have it allows us to do an interesting thing. So right now, this is underneath this little tab. This little tab here is kind of this is kind of the cool part right here. It allows us, if we had this fold right here, and depending on the width we cut it at, it allows us to connect to the shell, the main shell front lip. But also, when the shell is off, it allows us to make a standalone piece or light bar bracket, whatever you want to call it, that can connect to these two. That will connect to the headache rack filler, and that would allow us to change our light signature by removing and replacing the standalone centerpiece. It's kind of confusing. I'll have to kind of explain a little bit better once we actually start making it, because right now it's kind of hard to I guess depict with words. But yes, anyways, so of course, with that being said, this one piece essentially will, with the exception, if we don't include this one piece, at least from here back, I'm assuming will be a kind of one piece and it'll be structural in nature. And again, its job will be to connect headache rack to a winglet and a flange for the shell. And then I think from there we either can add this and make this a part of this piece, and then just make a standalone, condensed version of this just for the headache rack side, or we keep it all at one piece and we make it part of this. I'm not sure if we're gonna do that just yet, but anyways. But then also, originally, I believe I showed y'all previously, but we had a little, duct here. Originally, this angle met, and it was all flush. This, from here all the way to here, was one flat angle. It matched this angle. And upon actually trying to cut stuff out and make it, that's not actually possible, or at least not without having a lot of gaps and weird angles and stuff. So the only way to retain a smooth transition on this angle, on this main angle base, as well as maintaining a line here, and making a piece that to meet to this flat portion of the headache rack, without it being like this and this and this. Because if you see, the actual winglet tip out here is actually further out. It's wider than the actual headache rack perimeter, if we want to call it that. So basically what we're saying is we have to have some kind of kick out for this angle to meet this. It has to have an actual angle. It's not gonna be flat. So doing that, we have a cut right here, obviously, on the main outline of the headache rack. But it gives us an outward angle, which is kind of cool. It looks pretty cool from the side. It kind of gives the same silhouette as the ducts, or the air intake that we had originally figured. We got that. But it still kind of allows us to have that squares true headache rack silhouette, and then it also gives us some taper to go into our wings. And instead of doing a duct, like an actual air duct that's protruding, I thought, what if we do fins? So this is just a really crude razor blade cut out, of course, on cardboard. So doing it metal is gonna be a lot harder. But just some inward facing ducts or gills, whatever you want to call it. Those Stingray guys, Camaro guys, Corvette guys, I know they like these fins or gills, whatever you want to call them. But I think we do a few more. I'm not sure. I think Camaro and some other guys have different numbers of fins for gills for whatever reason. I think there's a whole scientific lore behind that shit. I don't really know it, to be honest with you. But I don't know. We might just do the three. I don't know. Three look kind of cool, and it would triangulate and translate to Lexus 3 marks on her roof rack. So I think that's kind of a cool throwback, for the kids. But anyways, just wanted to show y'all that. It's kind of impressive. But I don't know. The point of this little snippet, though, was basically working on this piece. Figured out we have to have a flat piece that's flat and flush mounted to the headache rack, and then this is a piece that will be angled. Took way too long to figure that out, but now it's figured out. Now I can translate that to metal. You can see I've already started cutting. I already had this piece cut out, thinking originally that I was going to be able to do originally thinking I was going to be able to make it all at one angle, like flush like this, a complete one angle. But you can see the problem. If I step down here, it starts angling out. Basically from the beginning of the headache rack, it wants to pick up an angle outwards to try to meet and match that winglet angle, and you end up with this little gap, this kind of awkward growing gap from the front of the headache rack to the rear. And I don't really care much for it, truthfully, but with this, again, with this doing it like this, we have a hard line, a hard angle. It will allow us to retain a easy and a tunable mounting angle and surface and platform, whatever you want to call it, off the headache rack, and then allow us to retain that headache rack angle and silhouette, if you will. And then it will also allow us to make a lot easier and cleaner connection to the winglet and again the shell. But yeah, and then of course the 3 claws or gills, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, looks pretty cool. So I think I'm gonna play with the gills a little bit, but for right now I'm definitely gonna go ahead and run this again. And up here, I'll try to show y'all a little bit later as we get further along what I meant by this. But I'm pretty sure for now, since I gotta get this piece cut out with it on there, I think I'm just gonna make this one piece, or at least make this one piece for now. If we can make it work permanently with the headache rack, cool. If not, then we can. It's not that big of a deal. We can make another individual standalone piece. It won't be a problem. It might be very easy to do. But anyways, so I'm gonna translate this onto this piece of metal quick, and then we'll come back and see where we're at. So I'm working on the end cap, if you want to call it that. End cap, wing support, brace, whatever you want to call it, for the passenger side. And I think I finally got it. You can kind of see I've got that little support bracket in there. This is basically, of course it's not mounted right, but this is kind of what we're looking with. Of course this is, I guess this is adjustable, obviously. It's just in there right now. It sits kind of flush with this ridge that's part of this original bracket on the headache rack. And then of course our triangle, which is a little bit lopsided. You can see how this end's a little bit taller. We might have to redo that, but for now it's okay. But yeah, kind of see the generic shell. It's kind of turning out the shape it's going to be. Pop this thing out. You can see it's just real simple. You've got this flat bracket that mounts to the wing, and then you've got this flat strap. It's just a 1-inch flat strap. That's just stitch welded on, but should be plenty strong. And that's what the cover will sit on. Will sit and bolt to. So yeah, pretty simple. Time to make this for the other side, and then drill some holes, and we should be good to move on to the next step. So working on the headache rack, or not headache rack, the chase rack, turtle shell, what do you want to call it? Working on these covers. I kind of recorded a little bit on the other side, the driver's side, or the passenger side, I mean. Originally I was kind of thinking about making these one piece, where they are more of a support structure. They bolt in, and they're kind of a standalone for the main wings and the headache rack, and it kind of had a flange about like that where the shell would sit on top of. I was trying to do it. It kind of worked on the other side a little bit, but this side, of course, it's just not symmetrical, obviously, because I made it. Anyways, I think the more I look at it, I'll show you what I'm talking about down here. The way it kind of mounts to the wings is in a position where it can lift up and out, if that makes sense. So being welded to the main shell, it could easily be removed with the shell, if that makes sense, without any kind of binding or anything with the structural parts of the wing. But so anyways, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just make this permanently attached and a part of the main shell, and then it will, since it ties in right here to the winglet, and of course ties in over here, it should make this pretty strong. And also that way there's less flanging. It's all can be seamed in one piece, and it'll be just a lot easier, so to speak, for sealing and seaming and making it not as bad for transitions and stuff. This other side, you can see there's a little bit of a gap or lip on this. The shell has a little bit of an overhang on this panel, so we'll have to cut that and grind it flush, and then weld it back up. But yeah, so we'll do that, and then right now I'm working on the I guess the closeout, the trim support, whatever you want to call it, for the winglet here. I'm not sure how I want to do it just yet. Obviously we got to cut a little bit of this off, but I'm trying to decide whether or not to make it like a mono piece that goes kind of, from here, and that goes like kind of its own little piece that goes on like this. And I can kind of show what I'm talking about. For instance, if it's just like this big, for instance, where it just kind of sits like that on top, and and that way it does two things. That way, one, it fills this gap and makes a hard line, and also it would support and make it more rigid too. So again, not sure, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. And of course, at least go up to this line and then taper off. That, or just kind of like diamond cut, and then make it where like it doesn't go fully to the edge and just barely goes right here. But I don't know. We're still working on that. Of course, right now, I'm trying to figure out this section. I'm trying to figure out if I want these lights. Originally, I had figured having these lights, something like that, which is kind of hard to see. But I'm not sure how we're gonna do it just yet. I'm gonna look back at some of my old photos when I had some of the older designs on the CAD up here. I know some of them came really far down. They were really wide. Let me back up here a little bit. I know some of them were really wide and came down pretty far. Like at one point we're just gonna come down to this line, which I think that's just gonna be too low. So we might try to jump up to this line, to the top of this line, and or split the difference. But yeah, so anyways, though, not much has gotten done, but with the decision being made on these side panels, making this part of that takes out so much complexity, and I think fine detail problems, so to speak. Doing it that way, I really think it's going to be the right move. I think. So that, and honestly, these trying to figure out these brackets and flanges has been kind of a downer for me. It's been kind of hard to push past that. It's just like I just couldn't figure out, the right way to make angles and make my my seams and my sills and my transitions and stuff. So I think doing it like this, where it's gonna be one piece, I think it's gonna be a lot better design and ultimately easier for me to and I can move forward and start on the next section. And in worst case scenario, once we get all this other stuff done and we don't like the way it looks, we can cut it out and we can do it again. Besides, luckily, as long as the process works, these won't be loaded in fully until that'll be one of the last things we do. Once these will get loaded in fully whenever we start loading the main seams up. So that'll be the last thing we do. So we have time to kind of finalize that decision. But I think it's gonna be a good decision, nonetheless. But anyways, I'm going to look at some old CAD designs I had on this thing and figure out how I want to put this thing. I think I want to try to come off this angle, use this angle a little bit for this angle, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I'm going to do that and I'll bring it back in. So this is Noah's flex test number 1. This is her passenger side. Flex to what most we can do. You can see it's trying to kink on that side. Kind of hard to tell what's all moving. Looks like that bed rail just kind of picked up there on that far end. You got a gap, tight gap right here. Okay. Pretty good travel on Noah's part. And now we're gonna drop it. As the bed appears to be intact, which I would hope. It's not bolted down at all, so you would like to think. This gap seems bigger than normal, but I'm sure it's fine. So, I'm not really sure. This has no rock. I mean, it's tight. I mean, it does not give at all. These aren't bolted down, but it's very, very strong. It's very tight and very squared, boxed off, rigid. Like, I'm wondering what we're going to do for supports, or if we can mitigate and make some more flex. I mean, I think it's fine, but better safe than sorry. This is Noah's second flex test on the driver's side. Still clearing. Tight, but clearing. Cap looks a little bit better than the other side, truthfully. Or when the other side did. This seems to be pretty rigid. Bed appears intact. again, you'd have to think it would, because nothing is bolted down. Looks like it's lining up. The body's pretty rigid, so yeah. Stuff appears to be pretty good. We've still got a little bit of a bow on that bed rail. You can kind of see it. It's wanting to bow and arch a little bit. I'm not sure how much of that's there before this, or from how much is from the added weight. But yeah, definitely need to do some kind of addressing for the weight. But yeah, just want to show you all that. And we're gonna drop it. 3, 2, 1. And it would appear we're back to normal. So, alright, time to do the other side. So guys, just want to do a quick little update video. Finally got the rear mounting solution done. I think, or not done, but figured out at least to a point of now it's just a matter of welding it up and finishing it up, so to speak, finishing touches on it. I opted for just using a solid 3-inch piece of strap. I think it's like 17.5 inches long from edge to edge, from end to end. Basically it goes from this bottom line here, from the bottom of this opening, and you can see it over here where I have it marked. So the bottom of this line, that mark, pretty much goes to that point, and then from that line it goes all the way up and it meets this this line right here, or also the point of the winglet, and basically just travels like that. It does several things that we need to have done. It fills the gap where the main shell was too narrow to fit this top edge. It gives us a platform to mount the main shell, which is currently just welded on, or stitch welded on, and it potentially could be bolted. I'm not sure yet, but we'll probably just end up welding it, I think. But then anyways, this is mounted to the main winglet using these little airlets. So instead of, originally we talked about doing a piece of strap, all the way from end to end, I figured that added a lot of weight and it's just not really necessary. So we just did these little airlets, or little, air pieces, or whatever you want to call them. Of course they're just tacked in, they're not welded all the way yet, but basically all it does is go to the mid bolt hole and the top bolt hole of the winglet, and yeah, it allows us to, doing it like this allows it to keep it all in one piece, not to have multiple pieces and all that mess and mumbo jumbo stuff. But it also allows us, with these bolts in here, and of course there, and of course in here, where the side panel meets the shell and the top of the winglet, we're able to take this off, the shell off. We're still able to pull it off. I was a little bit concerned about that, because being how these bolts are at an angle, standing at an angle, and they're in like this, and yet this top little bit alignment tab that mounts the main side panel, it's more of a, like a vertical, what I call a vertical, it has to go in vertically instead of, just horizontally, if that makes any sense at all. So I was worried that these tabs being at an angle like that, I was worried that it was going to be binding, and it was binding at first. When the holes were factory hole size, they were binding, but I went ahead and, since I've got some really big, like 1-inch and 1.25-inch fender washers, I went ahead and reamed out the holes for the winglets. This gives a little bit extra clearance in it, and currently as it sits, we have it's enough clearance to easily and pretty much seamlessly and smoothly just take the shell off. It gives enough room for the bolts to wiggle around and just pop out. if that makes sense. And when you go back in, it's still the same thing. When you go back in, the bolts are just a little bit loose, and you just kind of, you know, make sure they're in the general right direction, and they just fall right in, and then you get this nice little seam and nice little gap. But yeah, you can see there's a little bit of air, a little bit of light coming from the other side, but we'll have some foam strips pretty much on every mounting surface, every mating surface, you know, between the bed and the bed rails, the wing to the bed rails. Here obviously we'll have foam basically everywhere. It will be sealed, so you know, even if it wasn't sealed, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it will be sealed just because of light, and I don't want light shining through, you know, between the cracks and stuff. But anyways, this is finally somewhat done. As far as the clearance lights, originally you can see I had this line here. I was going to cut this angle out. It was going to mirror this angle. This is 3 inches wide from this point to this point. It was 3 inches wide and like 6 and some odd inches, you know, long here. But I was going to do that originally, but then more I thought about it, I thought, well, I kind of like this, you know, kind of more thicker and not really tapered in. Right now it is, since this piece is at an angle, it's got a little bit of a downward angle, which I'm gonna have to kind of clean up and cut to make it more level and match this more level line. But anyways, the clearance light, if you remember the original design, we have a little clearance light, you know, somewhere, you know, on this flat part. But on the flat part, kind of think now, looking at it, I think I'm gonna do a clearance light like this, and you know, inside this little gap here. And I kind of thought maybe having some diamond plate, you know, of course this needs to be trimmed out a little bit better, but something like that. Obviously this would be trimmed out, you know, basically to fit from here to here, you know, basically just make a triangle from your 3 points, you know, from this end to this end to the edge of this winglet, and then that would be your parameters, and you would just cut a little hole, and that's where the clearance light would go. And it would still give us a clearance light, and it actually gives a little bit better light signature. It gives, you know, a true flush mount light signature, I guess that's the right word for it, instead of being like this. You know, instead of originally being like at an angle like that, it would be like that. So I think we'll get a lot better light transmission and visibility like this instead of it being like that, if that makes any sense at all. But anyway, so that's something I'm kind of thinking I'm going to end up doing. We'll see, but I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. And then what else did I get done? Let me see. It's been a while since I've done this. Oh yeah, I got, finally, after all this time, I finally got the slap, the anti-slap pieces in, which all it is some scrap diamond plate just to keep the headache rack swings from hitting and slapping the back glass. Not that it really could, just due to the design of the barrel hinges and how, you know, it pinches against the flat surface. But whatever, they're there just to be cool. Okay, and then in other news, let's see what else I gotta do. That's pretty much covers that. Then we finally got this cross piece made for our headache rack. You can see it's very simplistic, a little warped, you know, we love that. Anyways, let me get this. God, these pieces are heavy as hell. I will say, these pieces are heavier, I'm pretty sure heavier than like this piece and this piece combined are heavier than the actual shell itself. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I would be willing to bet pretty good money on that. They are psychotically heavy. But anyways, this is basically what it looks like. Just uses 4 bolts from here to here, you know, in the 4 corners, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, I did my best to try to make it match the angle. Of course, they're not really lined up, so ignore the height difference. But anyways, I did my best to match the angle and the pitch and the roll. It looks pretty straight. When it's all put on the headache rack and stuff, it looks pretty good. They do have a little bit of a taper with the way, or I say taper, the end pieces, so like this piece and this piece, they have a little bit of a taper. So when they're on the headache rack, say this is your back glass, they kind of want to pitch down and out from the center, which is kind of good. It means they're a little bit forward on the center of the back, or how do I say this, the center of the back. In the center, they're further back. They're the furthest back they are, and then as they go out, they get closer to the front, which is kind of good because if it ever had to be used, hopefully not, it would want to redirect and push it, away and out, if that makes any sense. I'll try to explain it better. But yeah, anyways, finally got that done, so GG, that's good run right there. I got some conduit I got to put my wiring, and I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, it doesn't look bad. So, working on a few finishing details, I guess, so you'd call, on the chase rack. Last night, got the rear supports and mounting brackets made. They're not done entirely just yet, but the concept's there, and they're tacked up right now. Just gotta get them fully welded and stuff. But basically, went through a lot of variations on how we were gonna do this trim, this piece. We did several iterations where it'd come down all the way and then taper way down here, and have lights and stuff, and all that good stuff. But ultimately, we ended up going with just a piece of 3-inch flat strap going to this line, this bottom of this triangle, this line. It goes all the way across. That's where our bracket starts and or ends, however you want to look at it. And then this piece, doing it like this, allowed us to do several things. One, it allowed us to fill this gap that we had from the shell not being wide enough to fit this top apex. So that's what that's an added benefit of using this piece of strap. And then also it gives us pretty much a mating surface all the way up, all the way to here, to this line, which is great. It makes it a lot more stable. This supports a lot of the shell being so wide, so that's good. This also is a little bit way heavier. It's actually a lot heavier than the diamond plate, so this will give us kind of a good solid base to come off of supports if we need to support the rest of the rack. As far as mounting solutions went, originally we talked about doing a piece of strap all the way from the top all the way down, but we ultimately ended up just doing little tabs, or little air tabs, I'm gonna call them that. It's just some 2-inch strap, just cut and kind of slid in. Of course, right now they're just tacked and they need to be welded fully, but anyways, it allows us to get pretty much allows us to mount, I guess, to the winglet, this winglet angle, without having to have too much complicated brackets and stuff to make that mating surface. But it also allows us to pull off the shell. Obviously this is welded to the shell, and these brackets are welded to the shell, obviously. So essentially the shell is all pretty much one piece now. So as far as mounting, there's no additional brackets we got to bolt up and bolt to make the shell fit. It's all it's all built into the shell. So now we can just pull the bolts, pull the shell up, and it's good to go. If that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, so I gotta do a few little things yet still. I also gotta fully weld all of these brackets and this and all that good stuff. We gotta finalize these side pieces on this side and also the passenger side. Still gotta do this port, just get it trimmed out and trimmed out and fit a little bit better. But do that, and then pretty much at that point we'll be ready for bracing, and then finally the last step will be welding the main shell up. And by that I mean just welding all these incisions and cuts up. Kind of like that, you know, right there. We gotta put all that up. But yeah, so a lot of work to do yet still, but getting very close. This was a very big, I say, like roadblock for me for a while, but finally ended up doing it. And then also one more thing. On this side, you can see where the shell itself was a little bit too short, and I was not sure how we were going to fill that gap. But with doing it like this, with this one big piece, it allowed us to get to kind of remedy that problem. So, of course, there'll be a little bit of lip, and we'll have to weld it up and, you know, grind it and make it work. But that's no big deal, as you know. Grinder and spray paint mix the water what they ain't. Basically, take that mentality, apply it to this. It works. Not really, but yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna probably work on just a few of the small things for right now, just get back into the motion of it, and then once I get into full stride, then we'll start working on these end caps. And once we get that done, we'll take a step back and look and kind of reevaluate what all we gotta get done yet. But yeah, closing up on this thing pretty good. So yeah, I'll see y'all then. So almost done welding. I ran out of wire, so rip. Literally only had to weld that section right there and then stitch weld the inside of the shell to this piece. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. Just got to stitch weld, finish those stitch welds on the inside. Other than that, though, everything else is welded. Kind of crazy. It's finally, I'm not saying it's nowhere near done, but it's finally welded. So it's there's no going back now, kind of mentality. You can see. Before I welded it on the outside, I went inside and just did kind of like stitch, what I call stitch weld tacks. They're just tacks, essentially all they are, but kind of in a pattern of a stitch weld. I pretty much did it on all the seams that I could get to before I welded it all the way on the outside. And then, of course, I just started going in sections. Since this cut and this cut wasn't really was more scored more or less than an actual cut, I kind of just made more longer patterns because there was more metal there. There wasn't much gap to actually fill, whereas, you know, like this cut was pretty much entire cut all the way through. So I did do little stitch welds. You can kind of see, just did stitch welds all the way down it. Just jumping, you know, from, you know, center to end to mid, you know, and just back and forth like you would. Obviously, these end caps, I just went ahead and welded straight, in sections, obviously little stitches, but, so yeah. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of grinding and a lot of re-welding and kind of grinding, welding for like filling, so to speak, to get it ready. And we might use some Bondo just to make it look good. I'm not sure just yet. I'm not really worried about making it perfect, but if I had to fill out some big gaps, sometimes Bondo is a lot easier to work than metal, especially without the risk of having to warp any more metal. As far as warps, it did pop, and I think there's kind of a bow right here. I'm sure the camera can probably see it. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm pretty sure it's there. I'm not really worried about it, though, to be honest with you. But I think this piece did warp, I think. I'm pretty sure it's the piece. That or something happened in here amongst all the welds, which I don't know how it would have happened, because it never really got that hot. But anyways, that's a little bit high there. I'm not sure if this piece, if the shell itself actually kind of warped in, or if this piece warped out when I welded the actuator bracket on. I'm not sure, but anyways, if I have to make a new piece to make that work, it's fine. You know, I can make this work. You know. I did also add our little stops, which is nice. See, over here it works really good. Let's see if I can get underneath here and pick it up. No, I can't do it. Nice. There you go. So you see just little stops, and there's that actuator bracket I was talking about. Yeah. So, yep. It took a took a little bit to get to this point. I gotta admit, I must admit, I did kind of hit a point of like, I don't want to say like fuck it or screw it, but like I kind of like I kind of hit a point like that. But during it was time to do it. I mean, you know, basically this mounting solution on the back here was the only real last thing that I wanted to do before I welded it, and since we had it figured out. So yeah, so I went ahead and so everything's welded now. So I'm glad. As far as what else to do now, like I said, we got to finish welding tomorrow and we get some more wire, and then kind of a few things. Obviously, a lot of grinding, and then really after that, it'll just be a matter of doing our cut here, true it up, and then doing our little cap for our light in it. Now we gotta do that yet still. I want to fix this bow right here on this wing. You can kind of see how it's kicked up like this. I want to fix that. I don't know how I'm gonna do that just yet, but I want to spend whatever time it takes to fix that, just because I think it'll look good, and plus it'll match the other side. So we need to do that yet still. Again, we probably need to at some point consider reinforcing this, maybe just some kind of like angle iron, just, you know, and just 2 pieces of angle iron in the middle, just to kind of act like a gusset for this bend right here. I don't know yet. We might do that, we might not, but that'll be done off the vehicle. And then of course just finish welding these interior brackets once it's off the vehicle. And then after that, probably drill some holes to mount the solar panels. But that's light work, easy stuff to do. And then figure out our clearance lights. I'm pretty sure I want clearance lights on here. Not really sure how, where, or what kind I want, but I know I want some kind of clearance light option. And then yeah, and then after we get it grinded and kind of worked out, if you get all the seams worked out and stuff, we're gonna definitely revisit this. If this isn't looking right, or if the two sides just look way too far apart, we might revisit the idea of the scoop, just to kind of hide a lot of that, because I think a scoop like that would definitely hide a lot of the problems. But we'll just wait until we get to that point. But yeah, very, very happy with this. I still gotta weld this too. These little flaps, and then these as well. But again, that's so minute compared to everything else we've had to do, so I'm not really worried about it. And I probably need to put a handle right here if I can still grab it. I know. But anyways, and then we probably need to drill a hole right here too, somewhere for the wires to come through for back here. But so a lot of small stuff. There's probably a million small little things I still gotta do yet, but again, nothing crazy. I hate saying the hardest part's done, but the hardest part now will probably be just the grinding and making the seams look good. And main thing will be these side panels, making those somewhat match and look decent enough. But yeah, so I'm going to call it a night now, and then hit it again tomorrow pretty hard. And then it's like once this is done, we can get this in paint, and that's gonna be great. But then we're starting to work these wings. These wings, I kind of polished it. Let me show you down here. This entire time I've been kind of questioning what color to paint this thing, or keep it, high gloss black, kind of this mid gloss black, or just like a matte black, like on Noah's cab. But I went ahead and polished the powder coat. We can tell is on here, and of course it's a really, really crappy finished powder coat, but it does give us an idea of what a gloss black would look like, and I gotta admit, I kind of like it. I guess I'm going with the idea of the Uno mentality of it's gonna be glass. If we paint it with Uno, it's gonna be slick. It's not gonna be this rough crap. It's gonna be literally glass. So you gotta keep that in mind. So the reflection, there'll be a perfect reflection essentially, in these side panels, which I kind of want. I think maybe not on the louvers and stuff. We might do some kind of like Rust-Oleum, just flat. It's really flat and dull black on the louvers, and maybe even on the grates and stuff. and for possibly, maybe not, but possibly on these little inserts, little downplate accents inserts in there. But realistically though, I like the idea of this being like super, glassy black. Yeah, it won't really match the cab, which I still don't know what we're gonna do. I'm getting ready to paint this whole thing, but in a way, I think the high gloss black here would match, or the Uno high gloss black on this would match the Uno high gloss black on the grill guard, and then it would match the high gloss black wheels down here, and then we could still keep that flat black, as just like a midsection, and I'll show that one time real quick. But this midsection obviously is a mid kind of what I call mid flat black, of course, and this will be for the midsection here and down there. Obviously, it could potentially be here, which I tie in the front midsection to the cab midsection, and then if we do the tailgate piece, which I can't show you because the tailgate is down, but if we do that tailgate strip with a flat black, that would tie that in as well. So I don't know, definitely something to think about, but yeah. Wow. And also I got this done too, the actuators on this side done, which not a big deal, but they should have been done, and I just never did them because I was lazy, but they're done too. But yeah. Oh my gosh, what a freaking psychotic time this has been. But yeah, I said we got a lot of work to do yet, lots and lots of work to do. It's gonna take probably a week just to get this stuff sanded and broke down and sanded and primed and blocked and then primed again to make that way they're really smooth and glossy. But yeah, it's taken a while, but the fact that this literally came from a cardboard cutout is just mind-boggling. I mean, quite honestly, I'm at a point now, but like, even if I just rattle can this and just without even grinding, just made it as rough as could be, like, just rattle can it black and just put lights on it, I'd be so happy with this, because I mean, it's not exactly about the quality of my work, so to speak, because we all know the quality is absolute dog shit. I mean, let's be honest here, right? But it's more or less, to me, about just the sheer, I was able to dream up some random ass cardboard design just kind of on a whim, because I wanted it to be a little bit more challenging than having just a conventional little headache rack. And I was like, okay, what if we turn these wings upside down, and like, this is what we got. So I'm kind of proud of myself that I still have that imaginative, slightly autistic ability to see something that works perfectly fine and make it not perfectly fine, and then end up doing something elaborate like this. But yeah, anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but anyways, this came from cardboard and a freaking fantasy dream, and it's literally hours away from being painted and fully functioning, and a proven concept. So yeah, it's crazy, real crazy. But anyways, I'm gonna quit my rambling, quit my ranting. I'm gonna call it a night, and I'll see y'all guys the next time we jump on this thing, which hopefully will be soon. But yeah, but thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all later. Peace.